Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second part of this, shall we call it tutorial? Let's call it tutorial. To the second part of this video, just a little recap of what it was yesterday or what it was in the previous video. So we created the main view, we placed the spaceship in more or less where we like it to have. We created foreground and the fog that we adjusted to look more or less like we would have it in the picture in here, and this is what we try to recreate, or just as a feeling, not necessarily to recreate it 100%, but as an idea. We replace the house, maybe not necessarily at the same size with the spaceship that we have, and try to recreate this kind of scene or environment to have the same emotion, or to give the same emotion. And here is how it looks like for now. Obviously not exactly the same, and it looks clear that this image is towards blue as a tint, while our image is not quite towards blue. And meanwhile, I started the download of some 3D assets from Quixel, because we need to put some nice ridges in the background or middle ground. I don't remember how to call it, but to have something similar to here, and just having a peak like it is in like we did in here is not quite. It's not giving quite the same thing. So let me start again this interactive rendering or interactive render, and let's start first to adjust the camera. Maybe we can get a bit closer and lower to have more or less the feeling that we have in this picture. The camera is quite close to this house, so I would like to have something similar to that. All right now is not yet decided, so we can still be free to adjust things around to see how things would look best. I don't want to hide the end of this spaceship, but I do want to have some more things onto the right. So maybe by rotating just slightly and moving it like this. Yes, this looks a bit more interesting and closer to what we have in there. Maybe higher up and maybe closer. I'm adjusting to be on the local coordinates with the movement of the camera to just get closer. Yeah, I think that would be just enough. Right, now what's happening? So we have the fog in here, and I have already the fog material that I created previously, and everything seems quite towards red tint. Maybe I could call it like that. I think it's towards red. So I think that is given by the sun, really. You see, the more you go lower with the sun, the more towards sunset or sunrise it gets. So that will alter the color of the overall thing in here. So if I'm, instead of realistic, I go towards a direct input, and I try to be towards white. It looks a bit better. Let's try towards blue. Yes, so towards blue will make it a lot closer to what we have in the picture. If we want that fog to be a little bit more prominent, we can put it to the size of the sun at 0.1. Now, since we are here, let's play a little bit with the sun position. Maybe we can find something more interesting with what we have in here. No, I still think that would be more or less the best thing to have. Yes. Something interesting to know, I changed the settings into the Quixel bridge. So into the export settings, I chose this time to have high poly source. You will see the difference, and I try to avoid applying Turbo Smooth to have more information or more polygons so that we use the displacement to add more details. So I will try to import directly the scan as it was. That should give me some nice ridges around. And yeah, let's see what can we do. So what I don't like now, and until this huge thing is downloading, what I don't like now is that I have a very sharp line of horizon, and it's, you know, in this picture it is a horizon line, but it's not touched as sharp. And personally, I don't like a sharp line on the horizon. I just hate it. But that's just a personal taste, really. So if you like that, then maybe there is nothing here to do more. But I don't. So instead of combining maybe two cubes to somehow have a gradient of fog from the bottom to the top, the first thing that is coming into my head is really just increasing the length towards, well, a lot more, as far as possible. So in this way it will be a more natural. The line here, the sharp line, will just fade in a more natural way. Now another way to do it, and something that I was thinking about, was to convert this to an editable poly. And I usually don't convert things. I try to keep the hierarchy here, just so that I don't know, just in case later on I want to return to it, and I want to modify some things. Um, this is me using 3ds Max after many years of using Modo. So I'm not familiar with the shortcuts anymore or anything like that. So I'm using 3ds Max mainly as an integration tool rather than a modeling tool. I still prefer to use Modo instead of 3ds Max as modeling tool, but we don't really have a very nice integration of Corona render with 3ds Max. So bear with me. It's not going to be the most efficient way of modeling in 3ds Max. You are not going to get that from me, but at least we have the Corona render in here, and hopefully that will prove useful to you as well when you will see what I'm doing here. Whatever you learn, if you learn anything, hopefully it will be useful. And by the way, if you have any thoughts, or if you want to see anything specific in my videos, please leave a comment in the comment section. I'm very curious to see what you would be interested to see from the videos that I do. So now what I'm doing, I am extruding this box that is containing the fog. Yes, of course. And now I'm extruding it straight, so obviously I will see something else in there. So I will have to rotate the box. I'm going to rotate it in here just so that I don't switch between editable poly and not editable poly. see. So if I am rotating this, I should see the fog raising up. Okay, so most probably I am too far, and that's the reason I cannot really see it as going up. So I'm pressing 2 on the keyboard for, it should be for the edges, but whatever. Okay, let's go to local. It's getting closer to whatever we have on the camera. Yeah, of course, because I rotated this thing. So let's try it. Actually, 3ds Max does have a nice command, which is constraint to edges. So now if we move this, they should be all going aligned with the edges. But because I'm in local coordinates, they may not work. No, it's not going. Not very useful. Okay. So then let's try without rotating first, just to come closer to the camera and without having that constraint. Way closer to the camera. So being way closer to the camera, I should be able to have fog getting closer and closer, but still remaining, yes, yeah, still remaining at this level, just underneath the spaceship. Now the problem that is happening with this is that the more fog you have closer to the object or closer to the camera, the more of the light you obstruct. So that might not be the best solution that we want to have. We'll just go back somewhere around that area where I was, and what I will try now instead, it will be to smooth the box out with the turbo smooth after I'm applying some after I'm making some connections in here, just to be sure that turbo smooth is not going to make some very weird stuff. Let me see where I am with this connect. Oh yes, I'm here. All right. Okay, and for now, I think I will want something like this. I would say I'm happy with that. And on the opposite side, all very approximate. Let's see how turbo smooth is behaving with this. Not bad. I do want to have a smooth transition in here. Let's add some more iterations. Of course, it's not going to show me something great in there. Ah yes, because we forgot something very important in here, which is this. So if I want to keep things a little bit more controlled, I will want for that as well to be connected, so that I can keep more or less boxy kind of thing, boxy kind of view, but with the difference that right here in the middle it will have a very smooth transition. So double click, nicely done. It will select the whole loop, which is very useful. Oh yes, and at the top, I don't like the fact that at the top is doing that. Is it connecting them all? Yes, it does. Okay, that's cool. Let's check bridge. 69%. Right, almost there, and we can import it. Okay, so now you see we have a smooth transition that is happening here in this area. Let's rotate this with an angle snap just in case I want to revert it to what I had before. And again, let's try to see how this render looks. Not much improvement really. So we still have a horizon line that is fading, but the difference now is that there you can control the fading, however, in a much more smoother way. Now, I do like this, since I don't like to have a sharp line, a horizon line, but I don't like the fact that I don't have much of light that is coming from the sun. So let me see, where is the sun? What would be the direction of the sun? Right, so the sun is coming more or less through the fog, so of course I will have less light. So one solution would be increase the sun intensity, which for some reasons is not passing through. That's a weird one. Okay, let's reduce the, yes, of course, because everything is happening directly from the environment. Free objects excluded. Okay. So, interesting. So all the light was coming from the environment for some reason. Yeah, it's not going to work no matter what. Okay. Let's see if the box is the problem. And yes, the box is the problem. The fog, which it must be too dense. Let's decrease the density of the fog. And we have some weird light, weird tint onto the scene. Definitely is not from the environment. Ah, yes, because we have volume effect, isn't it? There. Yeah, volume effect was remained by accident turned on, and because it's turned on, is giving a tint to the environment. All right, so now shall we adjust the fog? I think 5,000 was way too much. Now let's try to adjust this box to be less thick towards the end. Maybe that will do the trick. Being so dense and being so long, it will just not let the sun pass. Yeah, it looks like it. So if I'm trying to use local, it should this time work, more or less. We don't need to be very precise with that. So again, that would be the fog that is passing by in there. For some reason, yes, it would be a bit too much. So now what do we need to do is to raise it up. Yes, because after applying the turbo smooth, it is making it all very smooth, so it will just make it thinner towards the end. I suspect it does look like it. Okay, never mind. Let's try adjusting again. I do want to have a bit more fog into the scene. It is at 1. At least this time I can see the sun is functioning, not like last time. And Let's see, are we having some fog coming on top of those rocks? It looks like it. Okay. So something is going on in here. Clearly it's overexposed. Let's go to the Corona Sun. Yeah, of course, if it's realistic. So let me turn that blue to be less blue. Okay. Yeah, this should be it. 0.1. Okay. Alright, so we need to see what's happening around here. It looks like the box is passing over, so we should have enough fog in here. For some reason we don't. Yeah, of course single bounce, but if we don't keep it on single bounce, it will become quite expensive to render. And if we keep it like that, yes. Okay. So it looks like we need to adjust these things more to let the sun pass through, but equally to keep this transition in here to be nicely done. Otherwise the sun is just not passing through, so we don't really see much of that fog. And now if I go and yes, reduce plus having a bit of environment, I think it was 0.05 or something like that, maybe 0.2, a bit more light into the environment. Yeah, no volume effect. Yeah, I was keeping it with volume effect. That's right. Let's try playing with the sun as well. Clearly it's too exposed, 0.2 for the sun. 0.1 for the environment. And let's make sure that it's close to the camera and high enough, but not touching the camera. Because usually what's happening with the fog is that towards the end it fades away. So we need to make sure that the fog is covering the rocks. So let's start like this initially, right there at the half, at half. Yes, and I think also that I know what else is happening. Collapse all. Okay. There, it was smooth. And again, 2, maybe 3 or 4 or 5, doesn't really matter. And now let's try to reduce. Yes, of course. Let's put it towards black. There. So another interesting thing about Corona that I just remember, it looks like if you apply edit poly on top of your primitive and then you apply fog, it's not really working very well. Or maybe, is it? Let's find out. So if we keep it as it was before and just reduce the fog, so the same thing with turbo smooth applied, and if I'm just reducing the fog now, is it going to actually do it? Yeah, it is doing it. Right, so I don't know what was happening in there, but let's adjust the things. I still don't like that I have a very sharp line on the horizon, so in the end this may not be the solution. We will see. Yeah, let's keep it at 1. Yes, of course. So yeah, passing through the fog is going to reduce the light intensity. So as long as it is passing through the fog, of course, we will have to deal with a lot of light that will fade away from the sun. Interestingly, increased at 63 and is still not changing much. Even 2000. Yeah, so let's keep it at 1. Let me reduce this in height. So we can still see, we can still have something in there, but yeah, there you go, but not that much. And yeah, let's turn off this thing in here. We need to let the sun pass through it, and then that would be with turbo smooth. So the sun is passing through, but now we are having that very weird effect. Yeah, interesting. Is it a matter of turbo smooth then? Something that doesn't, Corona just doesn't like. Very weird. Okay, let's leave aside the turbo smooth for now. Let's reduce the intensity of the sun. I'm happy with this in here, having some sort of a horizon line. Interestingly, if turbo smooth is applied, we have that very weird effect. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let's put this lower. Huh. Okay. Alright, so we can have this. We can raise it up, and by raising it even more, we'll have that horizon line, but it looks like it will not work to just smooth out the box. And something it must be wrong in here. Is it maybe, let's see, no, 94 clay. What can be wrong? No, this we do have it, so the mesh looks quite alright. Doesn't look like anything weird. Yes. So yes. And now what was happening as well is also that we didn't connect those edges in there. Let's try again. And now we could try something else, for example, mesh smooth. It was a mesh smooth then. Yeah, it was desolate. So if we would apply desolate, but not on the things that we selected. Now let's go and do the turbo smooth directly. Cannot remember now which one was, but at least turbo smooth is safer. So let's try again. Okay. So in the end, we may be forced to just leave it long, and without doing this. This is just me experimenting and see if we can get something more out of this. I don't want to be like, yes, no, I understand, because I already reached the limit. Yeah. So it looks like no matter what we try, we could try something like this. It doesn't really, it's not something that Corona interpreted very well. Well, at least we tried. I just want to be sure in there that I'm getting things right. Yeah. So if I'm going and still, I'm still curious. Yeah, so the fog would be all right in there. Let's see. If I am just for now, if I'm adding some fake environment in which everything would be white, would I still have that line on the horizon? Yes. Okay. So it's not going to, it's not going to solve it regardless. Okay. All right. Well, then it looks like we are not going to apply any of this. So we will leave the box to be just long. Very, very long. Adjust it in place and probably use a different box to fade the environment away. Interestingly, if we apply now a volume effect, it will fade away, but I don't like the fact that it is changing the color, or that was changing the color. Yes, that is not keeping it blue. I just don't like this. So we will have to find a different way to fade the background line. Alright, so this will add me a bit more fog. Okay, so now let's fade away the background line. So I'm making a copy in here. It should work when these boxes will combine. I'm trying something very rough in here just to see if I will actually fade it away. And no, of course, because when they will combine, that is an interesting problem in here. Yes. So it looks like the only solution that we have is indeed to raise it so that it is very close to the camera height, or just above the camera height, so that we have this horizon line. And then what we will have to do, it will be to somehow find a way to make this fog in this area a bit more dense. Now, there is an interesting way of doing that, and thankfully Corona introduced how is it called? Distance map. Yes. So Corona, let me see, where is it? Curvature, distance. There you go. So we have a Corona distance. I'm getting my fog in here. And what this map does is adjusting, is adding whatever color you want, but usually black and white, based on the distance that is from an object. So the closer it is from the object, it can be darker, and the more distance you have from the object, it can be lighter. So let's see if by using this, we can alter the density of the fog in here to be a bit more dense and to be less dense towards the horizon, so we can have this nice horizon line, and I want to use these rocks in here, which are having this weird name. Usually how I remember them is HBVA. So I want all the HBVA. That's really nice. So I can select them in here, all HBVA. Yes, HBVA, not the mountains. Put them in here. And now what I would usually do, I would do it just like in Clarisse. I would just put a shader to visualize the map first. But there you go. So that would be absorption. I think, no, that would be the scattering. So what I'm going to do, I will put it into the absorption. And well, first of all, I'm going to change this from 100 meters into 1. Maybe 10. Just trying to figure out what is giving me. Which one is black, which one is colored near. Got it. Okay, so distance far, so towards, yes, towards background, it will be black, isn't it? As we have it in here, that is correct. And towards front, it will be white. So that means no fog. So now if we start and play with this, again, too much. much, and I think we need to revert those colors really. There. So in this way we should have a control based on the distance from those rocks. The closer it is, yeah, but it's not really doing it uniformly. Yes, of course, because the rocks are not uniform, so we need a different method. This one is not going to work as it is like that. So there is one more solution that I have, that I am thinking about, and it will be nothing more complicated than just the same box but reduced in size only and only for the rocks, so that we can hide whatever we have here in the foreground, but we can keep this horizon line. By the way, all this work for the horizon line when it could be done quite easily in Photoshop afterwards, but it's just for the sake of the tutorial, not for not for anything else. Let me see. So materials, yes, Corona. Volume, a different volume material, of course, because I will want it at a different intensity. I want single bounce, and I want it more dense than whatever I have in there. And in this way I will be able to raise up in here, and it will work. It will fade away in the distance in the other fog. That's quite all right. Now it's a bit too dense. I still want some of the foreground to reveal. There. What I also want, I will want this sun to be a bit more powerful, not too powerful, because I would want to see maybe some of the God rays getting through. Yep, so that looks quite all right. Let's check our asset in here. Lovely. So the asset in there is done, downloaded. Let me save this. And let's get it inside of 3ds Max. So this time it's high polygon source. You should have more details. Well, I guess virtually more details, I would say, because at the end of the day, if you use displacement and it's done nicely, you shouldn't have more. You shouldn't see the difference. But I rather try this instead of putting a turbo smooth on top and trying to play with the displacement. And there you go. This is working quite nice right off the bat. We can already play with the geometry, just bring it closer. And yeah, I think the scale, we need slightly less in scale. I think I'm not going to use these mountains anymore. They were too boring. Still good, but not for this. Yep. So I need to rotate this a bit. Raise it a bit more. Yes, getting closer to where we are. There, maybe even smaller than that. Yes, so smaller would be better. A bit more distance, and we start adding them up. Go back to the picture, having a look. I saw just ridges from place to place. I think I'm going to cancel one of the fog. Yes, the general one, so that I can see. Is this the general one? I think it is box 08, it should be. But somehow I think I can have a bit more fog in here. Ah yes, two fogs combined, it will give a more pronounced effect. Yes. So that means that what we can do is force the render engine to render only some bits of the scene. That somehow we see what we are doing. Not really. No, I don't really see through all this fog in here. Let me see if I can do maybe something else. So I can clearly see in there. Yeah, I need to wait for a few seconds to clear up before seeing, and it was behind the spaceship. So there is a bit of, yes. So let's try to keep like this for now, just so that we see where things are. It should get clear or more clear once the render will start to be to finalize, but because we cannot really see much, I will have to do it only with one box that is having the fog. Let me see where I am with this IS. So I can go further away a bit to give more distance. That's it. How is this one going? Max has a weird way of rotating objects. I think I can come closer with this. Yep. And smaller and maybe or possibly lower. Yep, that's it. Looking again to the image, so a few more around should do the trick. I do want it a bit lower in there. Now what I do, I get them both, multiply them with shift and rotate them around just to have something different as a geometry. Put some upscale them a bit. Now, why do I use Megascans and Quixel when I could maybe do these mountains procedurally? The reason is I don't have time. So when you are very busy and you try to do things fast and you need to do things now, you will discover that you don't have time to make procedural things. The thing with the procedural stuff is that because it gives you so much option, so many options on how you can have things around done, you may get into the trap of how about this, how about that, how about the other. And in the end, despite having, let's say, an infinity of options, it becomes, or at least for me, it becomes hard to choose one. But in this way, if it's scanned, first of all, I know that the materials are 100% accurate. So if something if something is wrong into my scene, knowing that the materials are 100% accurate, it's already one thing that I can exclude from what was wrong, what can be wrong with the scene. So materials cannot be, because everything is scanned. So I have that confidence, and that can save a lot of time. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason, of course, is, well, everything is in a library, everything is done by someone else, already adjusted, for example, for 3ds Max. So no need for me to do that work anymore and to try to see how I can make things work properly when everything is already set up. So yes, all the time is time. All the time is time. The main reason is gaining time. That would be the reason why I keep using Megascans. All right, cool. So I already placed a few mountains here and there just to see how things are. I am making this a lot bigger because I want to see that if at the end I will be able to see the mountain ridges around here through the fog. It should clear fairly soon, but let's try to force things to be a bit faster. Okay, yep, so it doesn't look, it looks a bit too hard or too much intensity for the fog. Let me make this bigger and adjust the fog. Which one to do? I think I'm going with the main one, and I'm going to give up on the horizon line. That was a bit too much. There, that should make things a bit more visible. Maybe a bit less. Okay, it starts to be a little bit annoying, so I'm going to put on wireframe and I'm going to try to sample some areas where I am expecting to see some. Yes, because I was I was actually increasing the amount of fog, not decreasing, so that's the reason why they were like that. Yes, it starts to be a bit more visible. I can also decrease in here this a bit more. So in this way will blend better with the shapes that we have in there. Yep. That will make it a bit better. I will still want maybe a third box of fog. Yes. Yep, and in the end we will end up having a third box specifically for fog. only for that background. I want the fog to be a bit more pronounced right there, close to the spaceship, but not anywhere else. There. So only there. I want more. That's it. Oh. And now if I am creating another volume and applying to it, and increase, of course it will create a hard line in there. But once I am decreasing the amount of fog a bit, it should work just fine. What I can do is rotate it slightly on local axis so that I can fade even more from the fog. I want the fog to be just around there. And let's try now to see if it will work with a lot more amount of fog. Yeah. So in this way we have like 3 layers of fog, and the closer we get, the more fog we do get. You may need a bit more of adjustment, maybe having something similar to this. And maybe lower. I do want to hide a bit of the foreground, but I think that is too much of hiding. Let's see. Yeah, that should work quite all right. Well, in the end, we can make a very specific shape for this, so we can have it only in some areas, not in all the areas, to have this fog. And we can use not necessarily a box for it. So now I'm just using a box, but we could use something else. But as an idea, that would be just putting it as on a bigger resolution to have a feeling of how this would look like. And that's kind of it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope it was useful. And stay tuned for the next videos. When hopefully in the next video we will finish all this scene. So yeah, enjoy your evening and see you soon. Bye.